Nau mai, haere mai ki Aotearoa Rugby Pod. Welcome to the Aotearoa Rugby Pod, brought to you by Ashley and Martin Medical Hair Centres. You know there's a few good things we'll be talking about today. The All Blacks stepped up big time in the first half against France. We'll break down how. You know we're going to analyse Rassie's new moves. What was the point of flouting the rules at the kickoff, and what was the genius of the midfield lineout? How it changes to the opposition defence and whether it will work against the big teams. We'll talk about the best way for the Lions to use Pollock in the first test. Jippa loves Pollock, as well as their other selection quandaries. It's also a big show for us because we have Sonny Bill Williams on to talk about his latest fight against his rugby league nemesis Paul Gallen. The usually mild-mannered Williams seems to have a real beef with Gallen, so it's interesting. We'll also have your emails and comments, as well as all the in-depth analysis you've come to expect from James Parsons and Bryn Hall. So let's get into it. Brynner, you enjoyed that test match on the weekend, the All Blacks?
Oh, I did. Look, I think the way that they were able to perform, and probably that first test match was a little bit clunky. We touched on that, but yeah, look, I think the areas where I really enjoyed it, I think the forwards in terms, it was pretty much a statement result for them. I think the way that they were able to probably do some analysis around the preview tries with Roigard and even Ardie Severe, the first two tries, they would have seen a common trend and they were able to execute that. But yeah, I just thought our forward pack in that first half, it probably went off a little bit in the second half, but yeah, it was a bit of a statement, especially I look at Tupou Vai's try. It was my favourite part of the match. You know, you look at probably the old All Blacks team, the offload game, Rieko Ioane being able to punch holes and I guess keeping that ball at a high speed. It was really pleasing to watch. So some really good things that happened and some really good performances like Cam Roigard. I know Jippa's been a big man of him probably in the last 24 months, but yeah.
Are you a signed-up member of the fan club?
He's taken over the presentry.
Oh, really?
Well, I think so.
This, you know, I don't like putting pressure on people, but I genuinely think, you know, in the next 18 months, I think he can be a guy that can be with Dupont. I think the skills that he has, we'll go probably a little bit deeper in and around that, but geez, he attacks the breakdown in terms of like what you need to do defensively for the other team that has to defend him. His kicking game was really good on the weekend. You talk about his length in the exit zones, and then obviously his contested game. He'll continually keep getting better at that the more time he does play, but geez, if you're talking around traits, and I know Dupont's a big person around where world leading is, but I think Cam Roigard in 18 months, if they continue to keep developing him, I think he'll be one of the best in the world.
Is there a way that you hand over the presidency?
I don't know. That's a powerful start. That's a good hook to remain. You know, we could have teased that out a little bit more.
Sorry.
But yeah, look, Bryn obviously knows Nines a lot better than myself, so I'm happy to step down and just take the VP role moving forward because I think Bryn can probably help Cam a little bit better than I can.
I'm interested though in what you say about the way that he's going to evolve the game. When I think back to US van der Vestes and Justin Marshall, there was a time there where running halfbacks was a serious thing, and then, you know, TJ did a lot of it, but, you know, off and off the bench for the All Blacks. Why is there a move back and why is it important?
Well, look, I think you talk about revolutionising the game, and Aaron Smith did that not only in New Zealand, but I think in World Rugby. You know, when the All Blacks were very successful in those probably 2 World Cup runs, it was really big around what Aaron Smith did for the All Blacks. So getting that ball out fast, the tempo that we were able to play at, I guess revolutionise an era, my era, when I was a halfback. That's what you need to becoming the All Blacks. But I just feel with Aaron going and that skill set, I'd like to say, you know, probably for 10 years, you look at probably if Aaron Smith has been the pinnacle, all the development of the young players coming through, you're going to have that. So it's a non-negotiable now as a 9 in New Zealand. You've got to be able to get the ball out fast. You've got to be fit. So I think that's there with every halfback in New Zealand. But with what Cam does, and probably Antoine Dupont has been a big mover in and around what you think the world's best 9 is. So he's able to attack the line, like I've said. He's got a really good kicking game. And you think the more time that he's going to spend in that All Black environment and in big test matches, because that's probably where he really is unproven. You know, this is probably only his first year where he's been able to, I guess, be the number 9 for the All Blacks. So just imagine him in 12 months' time, Ross, where he's going to be able to have test matches against the South Africans that are going to be coming through, get an end-of-year tour where he's the number 9, going up against Antoine Dupont, which he did last year. So, yeah, I think the sky's the limit with his development, especially in the international stage in the next 18 months.
Yeah, and I think Dupont creates defenders to be hesitant, and that's all you're looking for. And I think as Cam gets more and more test caps, obviously that I suppose the video footage will create a little bit more anxiety in defenders if he can continue on this trend, which then slows defenders, which will create opportunities from the outside. And as we've seen with the swing attack, you actually don't need to rush to get the ball out of the base. Like, obviously you've got to get in there quick, but you can always have a look and then let it go because of the depth and you're wanting that timing to sort of catch other defenders further out off guard. And if they try to jam too quick, then you've got that ball over the top. So I think just the way the attacking structure's going really suits someone like Cam Roigard. And I thought Cortez was great off the bench as well, really sniping in and around and really quick to the base when the game was, probably getting a little bit more loose and around that breakdown. So it's a hell of a 1-2 punch they've got going.
And I think also, like, if you think around the line speed defence now, because, traditionally with us, probably the halfback has been getting the ball off the ground quite quickly. So as a hard defence that probably Jip's touching on, you don't really have to worry about a running 9. But geez, with Cam, whether it's he's very good with his cues at seeing if it's a couple of props that are linked together, or it's a lock, or it's a kind of a prop or a hooker. He's very good in and around beating those defenders, not just with footwork, but like brute strength. He must be very, very strong on his hips, and you see time and time again that he can break that first tackle to be able to get him behind. So, yeah, some really good traits that he has. And like I said, I agree with Cortez as well. I think his combination for them to having that 1-2 punch will be really good. Too young, inexperienced if you're talking around time. Into the international stage, and you've got Noah Hotham as well, who obviously adds a different, skill set with the halfback ranks as well.
A player who we might see a little bit of this weekend. I'm imagining there'll be some changes, so maybe Hotham's going to get a chance this weekend.
McAllister as well, I'd say. Maybe Tokiaho gets a start and Cody gets a bit of a rest before some big tests coming up. So I think it'll be an exciting and they've spoken about this depth. You look at the way Patrick Tuipulotu came back. That was a massive shift from him and a real statement. Like, because when it's that competitive environment, Fabian Holland's gone. Well, he really stamped his mark to say, hey, don't forget that I'm here. Even when Skip gets back, I thought Moni Nawara, he was so strong defensively. Even when defensive read wasn't perfect, the way he scrambled to get back and create time or force players out was massive. So like you heard the coaches come out about 4 to 5 deep in each position. You're actually, because of injuries and other circumstances, you're actually starting to see that, man, there is a lot of players in our country at the moment that can front at test match level.
We're going to see them a lot too, because Paddy looks like he's probably out of this test match. So then you're going to see another lock come in more than likely. So
yeah, Tupou Vati's a risk as well. So Arkoi obviously is in and around the squad, and I've been a big fan of his, especially over the last year and a half, in terms of what he can offer. And whether it's not by, I suppose they haven't organised it themselves, but they are really getting an opportunity that doesn't create hysteria of, there is people out there that go, oh, you can't give caps away and so forth. Whereas this is like, well, there's injuries. They're not changing the team just to change the team to give opportunity. But they're going to learn a lot about these players, which builds towards that 2027 and the depth they want.
And I think you look at that example going a bit deeper, and the Ollie Norris, a guy given an opportunity, well, obviously with Ufatunga Fassi and Lomax being injured, given an opportunity and doing really, really well with his 2 test matches. You've got Christian Leawilli, who came in as an injury replacement with Jacobson being injured, and he's slotted in really nice international. So the pleasing thing that I am enjoying seeing is these guys are given opportunities and they're actually playing really well. So very probably similar to South Africa. You can pick anybody at the moment in South Africa in terms of who they're putting on there. 1 to 23 in most weeks. So, it's been really pleasing. I think that's the improvement that I've enjoyed being watching the last 2 test matches. Guys getting opportunities, and it doesn't seem like they've missed a wheel on it.
You look at it, and still on the depth, that was the most efficient and most physically dominant attacking stats the All Black pack have had probably for 2.5 years. And I spoke about Fiji last week. I think just to give a comparison, 38% their dominant carries. They got the 77% quick ball. Man, so 75% gain line for the All Black pack. Well, backs included, because Reeks, as you said, he ran a number of direct lines. 54% dominant carries. That's high. Like we spoke about the Chiefs as the benchmark around that Moana Pacifica game at 36%. That's pretty dominant, and that's what it felt like, because the clean-outs were so quick, the ball was quick, it just didn't give them time to react. But also with that dominance, it allowed the pop, which didn't even mean you needed a clean-out. You got back in behind the defensive line, and then obviously Lays tries the best example, but it happened a number of times, and then they got lightning quick ball of 64%. So there was just no chance for the French to recover through the direct nature and brutality of the carry, but more importantly the clean as well. But then the heads-up play, not to, that cleaner almost been in a position as you get coached as sort of to clean, receive a pass or play halfback, and they just regularly are in that position and making those split-second decisions that are working so well and communicating under fatigue.
And it was actually nice, if you look at Tupavai's try, probably even last year we talked around execution, big thing that they touched on, not being able to execute, and I guess the unforced error rate was quite high for the majority of last year, and probably a little bit more so in the first test match. But yeah, the way, if they can continue to keep executing and I guess making good decisions around, maybe seeing that ball into space, making sure it's like a 50-50 or a little bit higher percentage-wise with the risk, it puts teams under a lot of pressure. You saw the French, they weren't able to stop that try, but what that does in terms of probably the line speed that we're going to feel against the South Africans, more so with their high line speed, if we can just get in and behind them. And even Ardie Severe as well, he did really well picking and going close to the ruck that we've seen in Moana Pacifica, and what that does in terms defensively, it's really good. I think a good start for us in the first 2 test matches.
But on Ardie, get him on that left edge as well.
Yeah, it's impressive.
When he's on that left edge, it's just so exciting. And that freedom for him to play down that side, every highlight reel of his Moana Pacifica season was down the left edge.
Yeah.
The more that he can find himself there, one-on-one, even if 2-on-1, and he's got an outside, he can free them up with an offload or draw him past. He's got the chip and chase game. I would, imagine if he just had that, I suppose, that license like he did with Moana Pacifica for the chip and chase, because he's got the skill set to do it at the international level. And I think, that game was very, I suppose it resembled a little bit of what we saw during Super Rugby, which excites for what could come as he gets sort of more international minutes under his belt.
Is it that he's got more time for footwork and those things out there than he does when he's operating in the centre of the park? What is it that allows him to operate so well on the left? Yeah,
well, I think it's what's done. He reads it so well, so he reads the defenders well. So there is the element of he is a freak, and he has an ability to read body language and understand what's in the backfield, what's in front of him, who's around him. So there's that element. Not everyone can do that. He is a little bit of a unicorn in that space for someone that wears the 7 jersey. But it's the breakdown. He reads the breakdown and I suppose that collision and the speed of the clean and the speed of the ball, but also where the defenders' heads are. If you look at whenever he makes these big moments, defenders are always backtracking to get onside, or they're looking in, and it always comes from that last ruck. Even if it's a bounce pass sometimes, he's still got time. And when he's got that time, that he can isolate defenders physically and dominate them that way, but also smart enough to know, actually, I've brought the fullback up, there's kick space.
Yeah, and you look at probably those stats that Jip touched on in terms of the line-out being able to play on top of teams, and that's probably the difference that we've found from last year. We weren't probably having those good go-forward carries and being able to get the likes of Ardie Severe, he's one-on-one. It's pretty much, it's man on. But then obviously understanding in those positions, sometimes you might have a 10, you might have a 9 out there, and as we saw on the weekend, it was a 10. So the difference of being able to, I guess, have a 2 on, having 2 shoulders that he's got to go into, more so around the ruck area and that kind of space, but get him on the edge, continue to keep winning that gain line collision that we are at the moment, then you give him an opportunity to be able to do the one-on-one, which we saw at Bum, or even chip and chase if he wants to. But then what I do also have enjoyed is that they're trying to get him in the game as well. You look at that chips that Beauden Barrett was able to see, the space that he was able to influence the game there. So that's what I'm liking to see, that they're bringing his traits and what he does really, really well to the international game. And I think also Geordie Barrett as well, Jip. I think the second half, especially those little touches that we probably saw with him at Leinster. You look at Duplessis hitting that, getting that ball out the back to then Rico Ioane's try. Just those little subtle touches that we like to see from
Great line from Billy too.
Yeah, yes.
With Duplessis flat-footed, and he did a great job, drew the defender out, but that hard line from Billy just made that last defender hesitate, which allowed Rico that space to... although he had a lot of work to do, it was still that commitment to everyone's role. And that's why I go back to that centre of the ruck. And I do think these stats are important because they're ridiculously high around the gain line and dominant carries. And I'll compare it to South Africa against Italy. This is a normal performance for South Africa, so I'm not saying that they're not still number one in this space, but they had 64% gain line compared to 75% for the All Blacks, 43% dominant carry compared to 53%. So just to understand the jump, and that's why it was such a clinical performance, was because those numbers are just extraordinary, and that pack deserves, and the wingers deserve a pat on the back for it.
Structurally, a lot of improvements of where we probably saw on the weekend. 5 entries for the French last week, and they had 3 tries off it, so they weren't as efficient inside the 22 area, having what do I have here? I think it was 12 entries, and they had 1 conversion rate in that 22 metre zone. So defensively, made some massive pay, which I think if you're looking at a team and watching them, okay, this was an area where we weren't going really well. For the second week, okay, the defence was probably the linchpin, what was really good about it. So they're adjusting. That's the one word that Razor and them used, and Scott Hansen used. We're adjusting and adapting on the run. So it's great. I know it's only 2 weeks, and obviously it's against a B side, but I think what we're seeing improvements. And I know it's only test 2, but some really pleasing signs after two test matches.
The scramble D as well. Like Will Jordan, Rieko Ioane, Nawara, and Bowden Barrett, who sort of plays in that backfield as well. Getting back and at least covering tackles or covering kicks, Riko's intercept, that's a try. So that was an all or nothing play, and they pulled it off. Amoni down the left edge defensively, I think Will Jordan jammed in and he sprints back and takes the player out. So all those sorts of efforts are allowing, I suppose, the big boys, after doing a lot of hard work on attack, to just get back and trust the system. And it's forcing teams to have to go to the edge, because they're not going to break through there. And then those edge players are just making some fantastic defensive reads. And I think they are adjusting. I think they're adjusting to the defensive system with another, this is their second year under that system, and they're getting some serious confidence about it.
If you look at the scrum defence of how the All Blacks were defending, like out and out blitz defence, connected, and you can all see them all on the same page. I think it was Billy Proctor came out of the line on a skinny play and absolutely demos their thirding and being able to, I guess, do a counter ruck and being able to then get a penalty from that or a knock on from that. So like through more time, because where the game's at, the line speed pressure is really important. It's with who we're going to be versing. We're probably going to need to do that. But yeah, some really, really good pleasing things defensively, and the pressure that they put on from line out and out, and more so defensively off scrum as well.
But the confidence that builds to go harder is the scramble. Do you know what I mean? In a weird way, it's like, okay, I actually know that we can get back and cover this if I don't get it right. So you can actually fly, and it's a little bit of a license to do some damage. And if you don't get it quite right, or they manage to find the edge, you know that you can get back and cover it. And that if you don't feel that, you can't go as hard as Billy did.
Correct.
Yeah.
Because you'd be worried.
You've got to be pretty clear.
Yeah.
So they're clear. So you can see, whenever you watch a defensive system, and you see, especially off scrum, because you've got guys that are all connected together, where it's a winger, centre, fullback, the last person is giving them confidence to get up. When you see a good defence, you just see them all very clear. You know exactly who you're on, and the example that I use with Billy Proctor, not just that, but a lot of examples in that game, that defensive system through Tamati Allison, I believe, who is their defence coach, is doing some really good pay in and around there. Australia, I know we're not going to move towards Australia, but they're going to need to do something different. The way that we saw them against Fiji and how passive they are, if they can have that same mindset, like the All Blacks do, or even South Africa, and be connected around that, they're going to have to do that.
And that's why it's such a worry for Australia. They only played one test match. Lions have got an entire tour.
Based on James O'Connor's face though after his first training, looks like they had a good internal trial.
Yeah, he copped it.
Oh my God!
Stitches though.
What was he doing? Like, where did he go?
That honeymoon's gone. He's in there getting stitches.
Yeah, rough. You mentioned skinny play. What did you mean by that?
Sorry. So for the example, it's pretty much a 10 taking it to the line. You've got a 12 coming short, and it's just a block play out the back. So that was the skinny play that I was referring to with Billy Proctor. You just, like I said, you've seen Billy Proctor. He's read it, and then probably, if we go back a little bit, that's actually probably previewed as well. Like the preparation, they would have known, seeing that you can then go for it. So that's a great thing for the coaches that they're doing, and they've seen those pictures. But that's what I'm referring to, the skinny. It's more so like a block play, which we've kind of touched on with the British and Irish Lions, Arkie down, Russell out the back, or whoever does it on the edge as well.
That's the great thing about these incoming series being 3 test series. Those elements week on week that you can build and look and develop that.
Well, if you look at the line-out tries, it's the second time that they've seen. If you see
Brett Evans,
give
him a rap.
Brett Evans, well, that's exactly it. Like if you look at that, you actually didn't get to see the angle, but I was like, how's that actually happened? Because there's nobody in the cover when Cam Roigard goes here. But if you ever look at it, their winger is in the line. So the ability, if they can get that ball away and you see their proper coming, but it's a number 1 or 3, and he's hit that. So they've obviously done a bit of homework that if they go to this part of the line out, they're going to hit that, then gives the opportunity. Great animation from Leo Willie and Cody Taylor to go to the open side, which is part of the move. But then, all Ardie had to do was give that ball to Roigard, and bang, you've got 40 metres down there. So that's coming back to your point, the preview. And even Ardie Severe's try, not being able to get the lift up, they just stand there and then they hit it and they win the race to be able to get on that free-flowing going forward, which we saw in that second try. In
all seriousness, though, Razor gave him a lot of credit, and Tupou Vati as well, around Brent Evans and the innovation he's bringing to the line-out. Like, most efficient line-out last week, the week before, 100%, 90-odd% this week, and some, a number of tries, I think 2 or 3 tries off line out. So you know, we know that the line-out's such a big thing, and it's somewhere where South Africa have probably dominated. You know, they have so many big men that they can find space, and they love that rolling maul. They love the innovation, and it's you know, it's exciting to see where I suppose Bryn's head's at in and around creating, and the amount of work he does to understand the opposition to then get creative. And you know, I think it's the first of many. Apparently, the Chiefs used it, or the Canes used it against the Highlanders.
Right.
And that's where Tupavai had seen it, and I think they obviously had a chat around it. But yeah, I just think that's an exciting aspect with all this innovation. Like it's positive chat for the game.
Yeah, plenty of innovation going on, and we'll get onto the South African innovations very, very soon. But I've got a few emails that have come through from you out there via email. This one from one of our regulars, Chris Minto. I'm delighted with the AB's win, don't get me wrong, but the line-out caught me by surprise. It seems as though the ABs are putting a lot of movement into the line-out, and in some cases forming a pre-maul structure before the ball is thrown. I thought the two lines were supposed to be exactly that, two lines. Or is that more convention? In which case, forming pre-maul structures is fair game. Question for you, of course. Jippa.
Yeah. Oh, I think, look, slips have been happening. There's always been multiple lines. It all, you know, and everything's a race in rugby, and everything's adaptation to a ref. I've always said it. Like, they may do it one week and they'll get pinged. But if you do it initially and you get away with it, then you keep pushing that envelope. It's no different to your entry into a breakdown defensively. You know, if you can win that race, then you're going to get a head start. The critical nature is that in any line-out is that so-called lifter, if they're forming does not get their body around or create sort of a separation or the inability of the opposition to get to the person that's receiving the ball, because that's when they'll get penalised. But I think they look to get it set so quickly, probably to just attract the attention, to get everyone in, to create those little opportunities in and around, because it's no different to the opposition wanting to get in first. But look, I mean, I've spent most of my life creating lineouts. There's plenty of grey there.
Now, go to another one, the All Blacks home away from home, Cape Town, from Cade Moses. My question is based on how little we're seeing of Ruben Love in Test rugby. The All Blacks have been incredibly fortunate thus far with Beauden Barrett and D-Mac being injury-free, but it feels like this weekend is the weekend we see him, right?
Yeah, I think, that'll change, I think. But depending on where they want to put him, that's probably the biggest question, I think. For me, with Will Jordan having a bit of an injury in terms of his leg and playing the Crusaders, and then having a little bit of time off after that, talking to him, and then playing 2 test matches, I think it'd be a good chance to give Ruben a chance at fullback. I think, you know, you could bring him in that off the bench role, but the series is already sewn up, and to be honest, it's just great to be able to give him an opportunity to play and get some meaningful minutes and say, hey, right, you're going to get the start, you're going to get the whole week to be able to prepare. You don't have to worry about if you're coming off the bench at 23, am I going to come on at 50, 60. Give him the keys in terms of that full preparation week-wise, and, you know, give him a chance at fullback, because he's done very, very well for Hurricanes. Like, we've touched on him at multitude times like this year. Like, he was very, very good this year. So give him a chance, and we'll probably see like Brody McAllister coming in as well. Probably Cody give him a rest, and the guys that we probably haven't seen a little bit. I think there'll be a little bit more of a change this week than probably what we've seen the first 2 weeks.
Yeah, look, I don't think it's too much of a concern. I just think there's a really thorough plan around how they want to use them, how they want to develop them, and make sure that they set him up for success. And I'd say they would have always circled this test for him to get some time in the positions they want to see. Opportunity potentially put him on the wing last week, but that's what I mean about the competitive nature of the squad is your only currency is probably on that training pitch, and Monty's, you know, made every post a winner and got the reward for it.
The big clue was in the press release the All Blacks put out this morning, where they mentioned him about how well he'd been training.
Yeah.
And I just looked at that line and I thought, well, there's no way that you make that kind of statement.
Oh, and he's had a massive year.
Yeah.
Like, you think for the Canes, he's gone between 10, 15 and, you know, one of their form players and delivered, and especially in that 10 role, like, that definitely his stocks rose in the way he performed in that 10 jersey, and sort of brought the Canes back into the competition when I jinxed them. But yeah, look, I think it would be awesome to keep some consistency at 10 and see him get an opportunity at 15.
Yep. Let's get into what you've all been waiting for, the Ashley and Martin turning point. That's my camera over there, the Ashley and Martin turning point. We're going to focus on the Springboks, and we're going to have a look at what everyone's talking about, I suppose, the kickoff, and then that, do you call it a line-out move, a pre-maul jump, whatever you might call that thing. We'll have a look. Obviously, there's been emails come through from a lot of people about this, and they're wanting to know a bit more about how it works and why. My first thought, Brenna, is with the kickoff. Let's start at the start. What was the point? Like when I saw it as a layman, I saw them giving the chance for a midfield scrum to the opposition with the first play of the game when the opposition scrum is probably likely to be at its best. You haven't worn it down yet, and you've missed the chance to pressure them for their exit. That's what I saw.
Yep.
Does that move make sense to you?
Oh, look, I just think it's more of to show who we are kind of set up, to be honest. No disrespect to Italy, but you can probably afford to do it against Italy. And you look at probably the first 2 free kicks in the scrum against the South Africans, but look, they just had a far dominant scrum, not just that test match, but the previous test match. They were able to put that amount of pressure on the Italians. So, look, you know, if you're a bit of a purist, you're thinking, you just kick that long, and saying that they probably kick it out to the 40-metre line and they get to go for line-out strike. But it's a great way to be able to just, set the tone, and hearing visions of and hearing them of what they think around their scrum. It's a weapon for them. So, if they had their time again, they'd probably get a penalty and they don't give away that free kick. But it was more so just a mindset, I think, to set the tone and saying, it's a really big weapon for us. Let's see how we can try and innovate in another way. And look, we were talking about it now, and it pretty much popped up on our chat in terms of talking around, why would they do that? And so, I think it'll be a bit of a tone setter, I think, for that test match.
I think how long until every international team has an ex-referee in the coaching staff, because you have to know where there's potential opportunities for grey, because the law, to intentionally be offside, technically you'd have to think it could be a penalty, but you have to think Jaco is let's give it a crack and see what happens. On another day, I'd be interested to know what he would have done as a ref. I don't see it being that beneficial. You'd have to have the most dominant scrum, and it's, a scrum is a very risky option. I'm glad they called it, because you see so many long kickoffs when people are in front and no one calls it. But
so blatant, just so blatant. What's going on here?
But even just catching it, it's no one would just catch it when it's 2 metres. Know that. So I know they wanted to get to the scrum. They got their scrum, but I just think defensively, it's the hardest position. If they win that scrum, defensively, it's quite hard to defend from a midfield.
Yeah, 100% it is. 50-22.
So, it's risky, but I just think it's one of those ones that I've just gone, let's have a crack. Do it early. It's not going to put too much damage if it doesn't go well.
They're having a laugh. They're Clippies and Coke, and they're sitting around in the evening, and they're just having a laugh.
What's something we can do?
What should we get these puppets to talk about this week?
Yeah, and you run straight for it, straight into the rule book. How does this work? What is the thing here?
I thought straight away.
Yeah.
No, but if it doesn't look right, even if it's not in the rule book, there'll be an adjustment, because it doesn't look right.
It doesn't look right, but it's in the law book, because Law 978 says you should never intentionally break a rule.
100%.
And it was very intentional.
Very.
So that if the referee had been on his money, but that's never happened before. The referee obviously isn't going to call it, because what practice does he have in calling?
Unless you've got a very, very, very technical ref that knows the rules. After that, they
it's
definitely
one and
will.
done.
Yeah.
Or
well, it might not be. We'll do it again. Do it against the All Blacks. I'd love to see it. Bring in test one, Eden Park. And
okay, let's not bait them. Okay, let's keep our powder dry.
Okay. Now the other one, of course, was probably the most interesting one, and the one that was just so enjoyable to watch, and that was when Norky went up and got that ball at the top, had lifters underneath him in the middle, forming a maul or a ruck in the middle of the field is just outrageous, Jim.
Yeah, it is and it isn't, because it's been done over a number of years, not been lifted, but the maul, switchback maul, has been done a number of times. I've been in teams that have done it, and the reason why it normally is you've seen, I suppose, the opposition defence is over-eager, and they want to win the race around the corner. So they all just like headless chickens, sprint, get round the corner, you go back that way, then they panic and feed in there. If they don't panic, you're going all the way, or you're getting a penalty, as we saw, an advantage or whatever. Or they get back in, like we sort of saw with the first try, and they sprint back in, and then they pop out. And admittedly, it was a good. The Italians only had one option, is to rush, but I mean, it was a great heads-up play by the South Africans to pump fake, still find Moody, and you know, he still had a bit of work to do, but got the result. But then you saw in the second one, they were a little bit hesitant to hit, and you could see Marks felt that, and Williams was trying to rip it out, and he was like, no, we're going here, because the heads were up, they were lower, and so there is a bit of feeling around what to do, but there's multiple. I'm sure there's another alternative off it where they could go to if the defence presents a different picture. But I'd say the essence of it, they've seen. They're just too eager defensively to get round the corner and bring that line speed and win that collision. But also, you've probably got more chance of a penalty.
Yeah, and they got a penalty advantage both times.
However, what I think teams, well, if I was the teams, and you know, sometimes we struggled at more defence, so even in a line-out, we would split open and we'd send off a Tongafasi just straight at the jumper, and then it's just a tackle situation. It's when there's obviously two enter, it becomes a maul. So I think the critical thing will be for teams to just be patient. They've now seen it, and you've got to put one of your big boppers just straight at, I suppose, around the back of the knees so that it collapses it in a tackle form.
So if one person goes in, you can sack.
You can sack or you can tackle.
It's a tackle.
Yeah, even if they've set up the maul, if it's only one person.
It's one.
Yeah.
So you need both oppositions to join.
Yeah.
So you see when guys stack in a tackle, it's not one person because someone comes in and grabs their hips.
Yeah.
So then it's the maul, and then the opposition join trying to panic to rip the ball, and so it becomes a maul. It's no different here.
Yeah.
You just don't. But as soon as you touch, like even just like that,
It's a maul.
That's a maul.
It's a maul.
It's not about engaging your shoulder or anything. It's because you'll see in lineouts, players used to put their hand on the hip of the opposition lifter. Or the jumper, follow him down to get his timing off that, and then bang.
Yeah.
So you're not allowed to do that anymore.
Yeah.
But that actually constitutes hitting someone up high, not that you do it. So yeah, you've got to be disciplined, and you've got to back. Like obviously Offa is a big man, so we could back that he was going to get a job done.
Yeah.
And it was brutal. It was absolutely brutal. And you know, there is elements, I suppose, if you don't get it right, it can be similar to the ruck law they've brought in around sort of loading on the knees and so forth. So that may, you know, there may be injuries out of it if you don't get it quite right.
Well, you might end up with 8 Springboks on top of you.
Well, you'll definitely end up on top. They'll definitely end up on top of you. But what I'm saying is the innovation is the lift. Not so much the maul.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, with also South Africa, well, just watching that game as well, like if you look at actually 5 tries they scored was in the first phase. Now look, one of them was a line out more, but if you're looking around Lebok, like his involvements that he had in the game, not just in the attacking side, and Grant Williams, their combination, they were able to score 5 tries through their backs and been able to, I guess, pull trigger and been able to score tries to be able to do that. Like, probably haven't been able to see that for a long time in South Africa, and I think the growing evolution of this group, like again, in that first half when they scored most of their points, they had 10 kicks. So they've got this plan that they want to hold on to the ball, but what I really enjoyed about them is that, you know, they had a red card. Look, they had a red card. And I didn't even think they had a red card with the way they were playing, with how expensive they were. Sometimes it can be a bit clunky in terms of having 14 people on the field.
18 penalties for the Italian.
Yeah, so, you know, but I think, and also like the kicking game that they adjusted and showed on the run, like we just touched on adjustment with how the All Blacks were defensively in that second test match. Like they kicked 19 times in the second half, and the contestable game through Lebok and Grant Williams and even Kobus Radanik that was on there, they were able to build pressure in other ways. So like I know this is a long time away with the Springboks coming here, but they've got that ability and they're showing the bravery and courage to want to play with the ball in hand, but they can go back to that contestable game and that smother game that they're able to do. And they've got some really good pay out of it, especially in that kicking zone.
And the biggest thing you can see, especially when you get that wide view, sort of end-on view, is everyone is sprinting. So they've got no intention. Like, so the support play, if you look at the amount of green jerseys that are in the picture, where previously you probably saw Colby just run off into the distance, or Mpimpi the same. Like, mate, there is like 5 or 6, and then when you've got that wide view, the others are just tracking down the field, sprinting, expecting it to come back that way. So there is a clear intent to attack from everywhere. And it's a change in the guard. Like, I think, you know, similar to the All Blacks. You know, because conditions presented themselves a lot better than we expected in Wellington. it was all out attack. And if not, it's attacking kicks. Not territory based.
And you look at probably the three best sides that we're probably watching at the moment. You look at the All Blacks and the way they've gone in the first two Test matches. The South Africans, how they're playing against Italy, but also the British Lions. You're talking around how they're playing, how flat they're playing, and all the animation in their face play shape and I guess their strikes, even off line-out strikes. Ball and play, which is great, I guess, for this year. We've touched, a lot of people probably in the past have been thinking like the game's defensive, it's all the kicking and being able to build pressure through your kicking game, but it's been great to see the first couple of Test matches of the year that running rugby seems like it's back. Not just running, but the attacking kicks, whether it be little chips in behind to stunt their defence, crossfield kicks, with what we saw with Finn Russell early doors in the first part of that Lions series. So, yeah, it's been really, really enthralling game to watch at the moment.
You talk about the Aussie defence. Well, we spoke about it earlier. The first try, the quick throw the other night, like, man, you've got to be on. Like, the Lions are here to play. Like, they are utilising every minute, every second. They are first to set. They're rushing to lineouts. They're quick throwing. They're quick tapping. Even the second try, Tumang Allen doesn't tighten quick enough. Boom, try. They're reading defences. They're not scripted. They almost, and I think Pollock does resemble it. Like he does. Like he just plays without fear. He's not robotic. He will be on that side of the field, that side of the field. He'll be in the middle of the field. It doesn't matter. He just wants part of the play. And it just seems like the Lions have a license that if they see a defender's body language is showing a bit of weakness, break script. You must break script. Otherwise, we're not going to pick you. And that just suits Finn Russell, doesn't it?
100% on Finn Russell. But if you look at that Test match the Brumbies game, you'd probably think that was the closest to you'd think that would be the Test team round one. But geez, if you look at that second performance, the other guys that play that 40, 48-0, 47 or whatever it may be, thinking they're like, no, we're still here. I think the talking point might be who misses out.
So who misses out?
Not Pollock.
Not Pollock. Not Pollock.
This is where it'll be very interesting to see how they play him. Like, he's played 6, 7, 8 pretty much on this tour, going in and around that through, if you bring on replacements and whatnot. But, you've got Earl, you've got Morgan as well, who's played really well at 7. He's got a man of the match. So, like, I don't know, you'd have to think that Andy Farrell is the coach. I think you are going to probably see, the nucleus of that kind of spine of the major positions, guys that he trusts. And it's the Irish, like, you could talk around the midfielding stocks. With Jones and Tuipulotu, their combination. I think, with Jones, the way that he's played, Ringroad's been obviously injured. I think, he's probably going to be that 13. But look,
if Pollock's on the bench, he has to come on at 45 or 50. He starts for me. Like, he has just played the house down. It's nothing against Earl or the other options. Like, I think Ben Earl's a fantastic player. But this kid just doesn't care. Like, he just doesn't. It doesn't matter who he plays. He just has that big grin on his face. His tongue's out 24/7, and he's into it.
He's into everyone.
Yeah, but even the try though, he's chasing everything down. Like, I'd say 9.9 out of 10 players don't get that try.
Sometimes, like, when you're that young, you just want to get him out there. You probably look at like Rieko Ioane as another example. When we played the British Lions in 2017, what was he, 19? And some people were thinking around his selection, like, maybe he's too young, like, is he really up to it at this level? But ends up going to have a great Test series, and he's played very, very well as well. So it's like he's actually been in the British Lions. He's played 4 or 5 matches, whereas probably Rieko's a little bit different. Wasn't playing for the All Blacks as you would consistently, like you would in a British Lions tour, as they are. But yeah, Pollock, he's a special talent. He's a special talent.
Like, previous, you can say super teams, he'll be good off the bench. I was probably in that way of thinking. You need some international experience. The Wallabies is set up. Joe Schmidt wants this one, but after the other night, I couldn't leave him out of the 15. So I'd have him at 8.
You have him at 8, and so that means you got Byrne on at 6.
And Van der Fleer for me.
Not Morgan.
I've gone heavy Irish in my 15. That's just my thinking. And I don't know how he'd leave them out when they've been such fantastic soldiers for his system. And how important that breakdown area is. But Pollock, I just think it looks like he has a license. If he doesn't, he is a very, very confident, brave man. Because he's putting it all out there, but it's coming off.
He's Savia Mark II, isn't he?
It was like that. Watching him the other night, it was like watching Ardie with Moana Pacifica. Literally, you have a license if you see something, pull trigger, and And his work ethic, he's into it everywhere.
Okay, if you, a family member or friend, needs to get into rugby shape, we have the giveaway that will supercharge them for this season. Along with All Blacks trainer Dr. Nick Gill's Rugby Ready team, we're trying to get the rugby community, whether you're a player or fan, fit and strong. And a huge congratulations to this week's winner of the Rugby Ready giveaway, JP Sione. You've scored 4 weeks of free access to the Rugby Ready Perform membership. He says he's a 44-year-old Kiwi living in Sweden. The last game of rugby he played was 11 years ago in Sweden. He's struggled in recent years to keep up his physical health and wants to get fit again. His main reason to get physically fit again is to live as long as he can for his 2 daughters. As good a reason as any. Thanks again to everyone who entered. We loved reading your stories, and if you didn't win this time around, don't worry, you're still in the running, so keep those amazing submissions coming, and it could be your name we announce next week. If you want, and it's simple, just DM Rugby Ready on Instagram with the code ARP and tell them why you'd love to win. Each week, one winner will receive 4 weeks of free access to the Rugby Ready Perform membership with full access to all of Dr. Nick Gill's pre-season, in-season, off-season and specialty programs to help take your game to the next level. We'll be announcing a new winner right here every week, so get your message in and make it count. And of course, if you miss out, you can get 75% off memberships through ARP by going to the link or using the QR code below. Now, Sonny Bill Williams had plenty to do with Nick Gill. Sonny was renowned for his commitment to his physical preparations, and he's been in the middle of it for his fight with fellow NRL legend Paul Gallen on Wednesday this week on Sky Sport. Jippa and I caught up with Sonny a couple of weeks ago to find out about the scrap, which has legitimately bad blood.
It's been a few years since you've had a fight, mate. What's the prep been like for this one?
No, it's been bloody tough, bro. I ain't gonna lie. The heart and mind's in it, definitely in it, up for the fight each day. But it's the body, just the recovery aspect. I'm 40 now, so I think that's what slowed down. Laying in bed at night, I've had 20 ops on my knee, so that knees blowing up and shoulders aching, necks aching, lower back. But to get the fruit, you got to work hard, and that's what these next the last 4 weeks have been. The next 4 weeks will be the same. So
I pestered you a little bit when we were at the Blues together to take him out back then. Why now?
To be honest, that was my question, James. 3 years ago after the Mark Hunt fight, I knew that that's it. I'm a realist. And with having, I've got 5 kids now, thank God. I was kind of like, I know that, there's more to life than just still trying to be a sportsman. So we went to him and we said, look, let's one last fight, one last hurrah, let's get it done. And we're down to the final hurdle, 50-50. And then he came back and he said in the last hurdle, he said he wants 70. That's done and dusted. And then I get a phone call from a couple of other guys saying, he's on some stuff. You should think about getting on some stuff that can be in and out of your system from a recovery point of view. And he's gonna call you out. A couple of weeks later, I get a phone call from my manager saying he wants to fight. So I give it 24 hours and I think, all right, last hurrah. But these are the 2 things that I need to be met for me to get off my couch and start training to fight. So long story short, that's why we're here, we are, bro.
There's one thing I know about you, obviously the time we've spent together, is when you commit, you're fully in, whether it's your faith, your family, footy, league, no matter what. How is that challenge been coming into this in terms of balancing your family life? Because I know how much your family means to it, how much your faith, getting that balance right.
You hit the nail on the head, bro. It's either all or nothing. Last fight, I stayed at home. I was in, 1 foot in, 1 foot out, fighting against Uso, where I knew that this fight, the reason why I took it, not because of, the fruits of it at the end, but the animosity that's already there, that's already lit a fire. So that was the easy part, being able to get in the right mental space. But that's why I've gone away. I'm in Jaya Puada's camp, his old man's training me, because I know I need the mental hit as well, not just the physical things, because the last few years has just been all family time, man, so there's no friends in that boxing ring. It's kill or be killed, bro, so that's the mindset I'm trying to get into.
It's interesting. I watch your YouTube stuff, the stuff you do with Quade. You're often talking about your mindset and I suppose life lessons and passing those lessons on. And when you come into a fight game and, you know, there's animosity and those kind of things, how do you balance up, I suppose, the Zen aspect of yourself with the competitor and the aggressive side of yourself and make those two things match?
It's hard, bro. It's hard. I'm not gonna lie, because, you know, my lifestyle is all about trying to find that tranquility, trying to find that peace and that calmness. And when it comes to, say, for example, trash talking, I'm not the trash talker. So people are like, bro, you've been trash talking. I'm saying, like, you know, it can't be trash talk if you're just talking facts, you know, and that's kind of what I've tried to stick to. But yeah, you're right. It does kind of take you away. You kind of feel like you're this different person, but in order to get in the ring, you need to put the cape on and be that different person, because there ain't no friends in there, you know? It's kind of like suiting up before a big game, James. You go out, you know, you're at that foot of that mountain, foot of the Everest, sink or swim. Like, you gotta tap into that. Let's go, motherfucker. You know, we're there or not. You know what I mean? And that's that boxing mindset. And that's why I've removed myself from the family environment. I'm up in Gold Coast training hard in that environment alongside other boxers, where it's just about, you know, going out on your sword, kill or be killed. You know, train your ass off, get your confidence from that. And when we go in there, we leave it all in the ring. So that's what I'm going to do. You know, July 16th, the last round, man.
In terms of that inner peace, that must help you in the ring. Like, I've never been in the ring, and I'd never have the courage to step in there, but that inner peace in the moment, being present, must play a big role, because there'll be ups and downs in that ring.
Yeah, again, as you know, bro, at the highest level in footy, it's no different. The calmer you are, the better you can make decisions, the less energy you burn. But then when there's time to go, you got to go. And that's what I found with the boxing. So sometimes it's hard to stay calm because you're not used to getting your head punched in, you know. And still, you know, although I've had 10 fights, it's been over the period of 15 years. So every time I've gone back in the ring, every time I started training again, it's like starting again. I get to feel that nervous energy again. At the same time, you get to feel that, like, it's all or nothing, you know, sink or swim. And that's probably the one thing that I miss, one of the one things I miss about playing high-level sports. You have to have that inner drive. You have to have that inner critic. You have to have that person that's looking back at you and criticizing your every move. Only one place you can really feel that nervous energy, can really feel like, have I done enough? I've got to step out into the unknown. And that's at high-performance sports for us, for my journey, you know? So that's one thing I've really missed.
In terms of that, the boxing belt itself, Barry Hall's fought both of you, and he's said that you'll get the job done. Why do you think that is?
I don't know. I think it's a 50-50 fight, if I'm being honest. You don't have to be a rocket scientist to understand our attributes. You know, I want to keep it long. He wants to be in close. And he's not going to have to look hard to find me in that ring. You know, the stuff, how I've been training and what I've been doing. I'm looking to come in for a fight. It's going to be a nice way to put a full stop on the sporting career.
You know, a part of your life which you can leave.
Yeah, I think so. And knowing the cool thing about the Barry Hall fight, I went overseas. I trained alongside Joseph Parker. I trained with a brother Andy, Joseph's trainer, you know, world-class trainer. You know, being in these environments, I'm a real visual learner, and it will really help me progress as a boxer from a technical point of view. Against Mark Hunt, I just thought I could stay in my own backyard, stay at home. So there was mad lessons there. So for me, it's kind of like I get the chance to kind of right a role, if that makes sense. So not many people get that opportunity. So at the same time, it's sink or swim, but at the same time, it's a mad opportunity.
I was watching a moment from the Chiefs playing a home final, and you score the try, and you run up and you jump into the crowd.
Who does it?
And I just wanted you to reflect on that. Like, when you look back at a moment like that in your career, do you look back and think about that? And what are your memories of that moment? Because it's an iconic moment.
The cool things are the memories, you know, the sheds. And that was one of the memories. I jumped into the crowd, some would say, because, you know, you're a peacock. But not really. I jumped into the crowd to show love. And I really enjoyed my time at the Chiefs. You know, we were down at Crusaders the year before, and I decided to come up to be closer to Mum. But we kind of I came into a team full of, like, rat bags almost. Like, you know, all on people were on their second chance, people on their last chance, we were coming together, and we got it done. We had an unbelievable season. We were just embraced. A lot of us were foreigners from that area, and we were just embraced by the community. So that's what that place was. That's what, you know, that jump was all about.
I can't let any rugby chat go without the Blues. I know you're a man with a big moment. Blues vs Lions, offload to Stephen Luatua, led to the Ohio West try.
That was a memory too, eh, bro?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That was a memory too, although we didn't get have a lot of success. I love my time at the Blues. Why? Because I was in the 09, back home, where it all started for me. Playing alongside like yourself, bro. we had some good moments there, you know. Some tough times, but I feel like that was the catalyst for what was to come. You know, you see the success that the boys are having. So,
well, here's to one more big moment on July 16, mate.
Thanks, boys.
All the best, mates.
Good luck to Sonny in that fight on Sky Wednesday night. Make sure you get that pay-per-view. It should be a hell of a fight after everything that's been said. Talked about that Blues game against the Lions, Jippa.
I had to get it in there.
Yeah.
Just so I had this moment to relive it.
Yeah.
One of my rare fond memories.
Yeah.
At Eden Park. Full house, Ehire West. Oh,
yeah.
I can take myself back there in a heartbeat.
Yeah. Were you just chasing him in a supporting line, were you?
No, I'd been subbed like a few minutes earlier, so I was out of the seat.
Yeah.
Absolutely full noise. And it was at the end of the season, so obviously I was pretty excited about the celebrations to come.
I'm sure there were solid celebrations.
It was, yeah, very.
The Blues went straight into their off-season. 5 months of recovery.
Yeah. I can't think of that league player's name for the Roosters, but I was in the kit for a while. I was definitely remained in the kit.
You're out on the town in the kit?
No, well, I'm not a town person.
Yeah.
But, definitely remained in it for a long period of time.
Yeah.
In the comforts of sort of private functions.
Yeah. Washed, laundered, tucked away in a drawer now.
Yes, got to get it framed.
I was going to say you would have framed it.
Yeah.
Haven't got it framed.
And possibly the most important question of the entire night comes in from Nick St. John from YouTube. What's up with the long pants, James?
Yeah,
Bring back the shorts.
Bring back the shorts, man.
Bring back the shorts.
I know. It's a good question. It's I do have other roles, so I've actually had to go to some important meetings myself the last few weeks.
Yeah.
But I'll bring the shorts back.
Right.
I'll bring the shorts
Yeah,
back.
so calves and quads aren't acceptable in these meetings.
I would not say so, no.
There's such a meeting.
Yeah, there is. There definitely is. There's a standard that my father did set. I was just trying to casual out so people feel like we're just in their lounge. You know? And I can sense that, you know.
It is winter as well, isn't it, Jip? You know, it's smart.
I
It's
never
smart.
really feel the cold.
No, not with those pins. Not with those pins.
No. Hey, great stuff though. Good question.
Thank you.
Shorts will be back next
You
week.
will notice that they are as tight as they possibly can for what you might need. So you can still get a shot of that calf.
Yeah, I don't
if
hide
you
from
need
my
to.
vanity issues. They're alive and well.
And on that note, thank you all for joining us on the Aotearoa Rugby Pod once again this week. Thank you to Ashley and Martin for supporting the show. Thank you all for sending your emails. Please send them through at aotearoarugbypod@sky.co.nz, and we'll attempt to answer a few of your questions. We have a lot that come through each week, and we try to get to as many as we can, and we'll save them for the future if we can, and do what we can. So thank you very much. We'll catch you again next week. Thank you to everyone who helped us on the show. Mā te wā.